Our next speaker is Kevin Salvidge from Leader Europe. And what Kevin's going to be talking about are some real-world true stories about things that he's seen and the relationship between the world of IP and the world of SDI and how all those can still play together even though we're moving to an IP environment. So take it away, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Wes, and welcome to day 4, the final day of IBC 2022. So when I was thinking about this, it was a title to come up with, and we ended up settling on you don't have to throw your SDI baby away with the bathwater. Because we have within our industry a phenomenal knowledge base of the technical aspects of the pictures, how they're transported. We'd be fools to throw that away. So what we're looking at here is ways that the knowledge base that we have, that we've gained over the last 30 years, can be used within these new IP environments to fault find. So taking those SDI techniques, allowing us to identify where the issue is and then going into the IP network. The classic line we hear from people is when there's a problem, well, it's the switch. Why is it the switch? Well, it's the switch because I don't know what the switch does. It just takes signals in and puts them out. It's that lack of knowledge. So if we can pass over the skills and apply them in an IP world, we will be in a lot better place. So, disclaimer. The following presentation features real-life events. But don't worry, people. I'm not going to name you. The idea of this is to educate and inform, and hopefully entertain along the way in the next 25 minutes or so. So let's start with what any broadcast system is built upon, and that is a reference. Without a reference, this is not going to work. So, in SDI, we have black and burst and tri-level sync. But PTP comes with a number of parameters that, if incorrectly configured, can result in unexpected and unpleasant IP operations. So let's take a look. PTP and resilience of PTP is based around the best master clock algorithm. And the best master clock algorithm is a process that is continually running within IP facilities. And this identifies who the grand master is. Who is the master source of time within your facility? And it's permanently running, it's permanently polling. So if a better, more suitable grand master comes online, it takes over. So this is the architecture that we've used to build our PTP systems. So at power up, the devices start listening and they start sending announce messages between each other on the network. And once all the devices have sent and received their announce messages, they work out which device is the Grand Master. And as you can see from this here, this very simple system, it has decided that PTP Grand Master A on the left is the Grand Master. And that boils down to the fact that it has the same priority 1 status, it has the same clock class status, but we've successfully configure the system so that priority 2 is 1, whereas on the leader, priority 2 is 2. So it's very critical that you build your PTP network and you understand the failover situations. This is the hierarchy it follows. If you get this wrong, you could end up going to a Grand Master that is not connected to GPS because of the priorities you've given it. So you've got to look Go through that failover system, remove the primary. What becomes the Grand Master when that's removed? Then remove that. Make sure the cascade process is as you expect and it's falling where you want it to. The next challenge we've seen, and this requires you to pay some thought and attention with your network designers, is about PTP domains. So domains are used for multiple PTP services with one physical Ethernet connection. So PTP operation is performed between devices having the same domain. So this is how we split video and audio. The first bit to comment here is that unfortunately SMPTE 2110 was quite late to the party, and our friends with audio, with AES67, have already snagged domain 0. That's theirs. So it is strongly recommended that you don't go to domain 0 for your PTP network. The other advice we'd give you, and this is a tough one, is domain 127. This is the default domain. Any IP item you get out of the box that has PTP capability will be domain 127. I'm going to go around facilities. I will look at the PTP domain and it's 127 because basically you've taken all of the items out of the box, you've plugged them up, and that's what you're running to. Now, this can work perfectly well, but it opens you up to the potential that you could plug a device onto that network that has a best master clock algorithm set of parameters that could become the Grand Master. It might not have the capabilities of being the Grand Master, but the priorities and clock class, everything has been set up. And that could kick in and then cause quality of service issues to your video, your audio, any of your services. So if you're starting from scratch, I'd recommend avoiding 127. Personally, we go in at 44, which is pretty much in the middle, and so far it hasn't clashed with anybody. So it's a good piece of practical advice. Avoid 0, because your audio network has already got that one, and 127 so that you can sleep at night, knowing that if an engineer plugs something on, it doesn't have the potential of causing a hiccup on your system. The other piece, going back to the best master clock algorithm, is, as I said, it's polling all the time. So if the leader doesn't see an announce message from a better clock within the announce timeout interval, then it takes over the role of Grand Master. So this runs continually. So leaders, capable devices, are constantly on the lookout for the possible loss of a Grand Master. For this reason, you want the network detection timeout to be longer than the timeout interval of the best master clock algorithm, Grand Master or leader. We have a challenge at the moment that leader and other SPG manufacturers, we set these parameters. Unfortunately, they're exactly the same parameters and timings that are used within the boundary clock switches, leaf, spine switches. So therefore, everything's on a level playing field. So should something happen to your Grand Master, really you should change the timeouts so that it will only switch to one of the other devices if there is actually a proper failure, not that it tripped over and one of the others had the opportunity to step in. So this is critical. And as your architecture gets bigger and bigger, this becomes more critical. So let's take a look at a leaf spine architecture. So in this network, the two red and blue are completely air-gapped. The only connection between the two will be a PTP interconnected VLAN. So each leaf connects to every spine on its own network, and each southbound leaf port is a boundary clock. Need more nodes? You add more leaves. Need more bandwidth? You add more spines. This is one of the key benefits of going to IP. This is what COTS brings us. Remember, with SDI routers, we needed to expand them. It's an input card, it's a crosspoint card, it's an output card. Here, this is the dream, we're living it. This is what we were sold 7, 8 years ago. It's here. But you need to ensure that the best master clock algorithm election takes place at the feeder switch level and not lower down the media network. And the way you do that is for spine and leaf network architectures. The leaf ports connected to the PTP follower endpoints should always stay in a master state. And this is configured with CLI to ensure that they always stay as masters. Even if the follower is misconfigured or a grandmaster is accidentally connected under this port, it can't poke up. And a real-world example of this is here, where this is the log of a network, and as you can see, we have a grandmaster. There was some kind of interruption, and somehow one of the boundary clocks got in between before the grandmaster ID that ends 0AC2 came back. I've seen incidents where this failover occurs and you can see 4 or 5 of the boundary clock leaves jumping in. And you're standing there watching the video pictures go dong, 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 dong. It's because the way the PTP architecture has been designed and the best master clock algorithm works. The other challenge we face is obviously having PTP and your black and burst, your SDI and your AS references in a single unit in a hybrid environment is a must because they have to be locked together. And this is the architecture we've had for years for black and burst, PAL and SDI video. Primary, backup unit, into an emergency changeover, then we go out to the distribution amplifiers and so on. Obviously, in the world of IP, PTP doesn't go through an emergency changeover unit. You go directly out into your network. And then the best master clock algorithm selects which device is the grandmaster. But what happens if something happens to your grandmaster and you switch over to the backup? Your black and burst, your audio, and your SDI is still coming off of the primary unit. One of the ways to address this, and typically in larger systems, we'll see people using SNMP controllers to monitor the health of the network and the systems. And these systems allow for detection of who is the grandmaster if the grandmaster changes. And then simply, if it sees a change, it can initiate a command to the changeover unit to switch. So that now, our grandmaster loses, we change over, and at the same time, the black and burst, SDI and your audio references move across as well. So now you can start working on the unit that's failed, and you know that you've got the great term, all your eggs in one basket. So, you've built your reference, you've got your foundations. Let's have a look at ancillary data. So, over the years, SDI ancillary data, or systems, have become the home for lots of information. Some of those are intrinsic to the video. Some are independent essences, and Some things have ended up there because it seemed like a good place to put it at the time, and that's where it stayed. Obviously now with the world of IP and -40, where the ancillary data is a separate essence, we're starting to have to revisit a lot of these. And probably the most important one to any broadcast engineer is the video payload codes, SMPTE ST352. And this was always carried, the ancillary data space. This is to assist, as I said, the quick decoding and understanding of video signals. 2110-20 is the transport of uncompressed active video. The ancillary data is managed as part of 2110-40. So what you need are tools within your environment that allow you to take that information that could be part of the session description protocol file, it could be part of the -40 stream, and display it in a way that we're familiar with as SDI video engineers. And at Leader, that's one of the things we've been focused on, is making these tools appear like they do in SDI, so it's not a huge step away. But as I mentioned, now we have a new challenge. To assist in the control and switching of IP multicast flows within a broadcast facility, broadcasters are using NMOS orchestration systems to control IP receivers. They configure the receivers by means of a session description protocol, or SDP. And the session description protocol does not deliver any media streams itself, but it is used between endpoints for negotiating on network matrix, media type, and other associated properties. So what does a session description protocol file look like? Well, here's a video one. And if you've not seen one, it probably looks just like a load of code. But actually, it's quite simple and easy to pick out. There's a -30 session description protocol file. And there is a -40 ancillary data one. And if you break it down, it's actually quite simple, because you can pick out from the top your source address. You can then pick out your multicast address. You can pick out information about the video. So as you can see here, it's YCBCR, it's 422. You can see its width, you can see its height. You can see the bit depth. You can see its transfer characteristic, its color imagery. And you can also see here the Grandmaster ID and the PTP domain number. So this information is all in there. So this is what we need our SDI broadcast engineers to identify where the issue is. And then typically the session description protocol file is a great place to start to see if what you are expecting to receive is what you actually received. So being able to analyze the session description protocol is vital if an error occurs. And its creation and receivers on the network are unable to. So if you can't see your video, you can't see your audio, you've got no ancillary data, that's a great place to look. And the test and measurement products display this information in a very simple, easy form, and they're updated every time a change occurs. Here is the session description protocol file for video. Here's audio, and here's ancillary data. So the information is there and it's available. So one of the challenges we're seeing now is obviously most facilities are operating IP and SDI. So you need to be able to have a test and measurement product that can look at both the SDI video payload ID, but then also display the IP payload ID. And as I said, that could come as part of the -40 stream. It could come as part of your session description protocol file. So being able to display those simultaneously side by side is vital to allow you to quickly identify where issues might lie within your operation. Classic place for this would be in the SDI world. I've got my closed captions, I've got my parental advisory information displayed, but in IP I haven't. The same applies with the -40 data, and having the two side by side you can compare, and as you can see here, the stream I have on the left is a progressively scanned image, yet for some reason the one on the right is interlaced. So what's happened? Why has that occurred? So in day-to-day operations, true hybrid operation allows us to quickly identify and fault find issues that we're fairly common with. As I mentioned, here we have on the left an SDI signal with captions. On the right I have its IP equivalent, but no captions. I can switch through, I can have a look at the waveform display, understanding where the information may be missing. I can look at the session description protocol file. It's where you go and look. Other things that it can show you by being able to look at both is audio. Here is my IP audio. Put them side by side, and it's suddenly clear that I've lost channels 5 and 6. Again, first place to go and look. Audio session description protocol file. Have I got all the channels? Have they been assigned? An IP to SDI gateways. Test and measurement products have always acted as gateways in broadcasters' environments. Nothing has changed now with IP. How many of you have got a waveform monitor or a rasterizer, and hanging off the back of that are speakers connected to the analog audio output? It's the same in the world of IP. We need test and measurement tools that can not only analyze in detail the IP streams, but also provide SDI video, digital audio, or analog audio outputs. And that information can be inserted into the VPID, whether it comes from the session description protocol file or it comes from the -40 ancillary data stream. So when the vision engineer does a touchdown on an RCP in a truck, we see it switch over automatically. We change back. The world of vision engineers in IP. It's not uncommon for vision engineers to have to control multiple cameras simultaneously, and this involves rapidly switching between camera sources. So it's not uncommon, if you've watched these guys, to literally be almost like playing a musical instrument with the RCPs. And we have to make sure that the world of IP video switches in exactly the same manner. This is not an insignificant challenge, especially when you move into the world of ultra high definition video and the amount of data that you're switching. If the replacement to SDI is not as good as SDI video, people aren't going to switch. So here we have a demonstration of how switching can be done to make it feel like it was SDI video. Audio to video synchronization. AV delays back. We got rid of it. IP's brought it back for us. This is also known as lip sync, and this is the relative timing of the audio to the video. So many of you will have seen this particular slide, which talks about how the RTP timestamp is derived from the PTP Grandmaster clock. And the transmitting side transmits the stream according to the time of PTP, and the receiving side reproduces it in accordance with the PTP time. So let's take a look at a broadcast facility. We have our PTP masters connected to the switch, and we have our audio, we have our video and PTP going through the system. Everything's good. We get RTP timestamps. Everything's good. We know what the propagation delay is because of the RTP timestamps. But then things start to get complicated because downstream we're providing multiple services. We may be providing a 4K wide color gamut HDR. We may also be providing an HD SDR output. They have to be converted from that 4K HDR wide color gamut originated source. And at the end of each process, we get a new RTP timestamp, which means we've got a new propagation delay. What's that delay? So now, with IP test patterns, we have the ability to identify what the delay is across your network for your productions. And using this test pattern here, you're all familiar with that from SDI video. We've used it for years. But as you can see, the chart on the right is giving me a graphical display of each of the audio channels and how much they lead or lag. So what this means is you can put this signal through your system, get the timing of the audio to video lip sync. Then you can add your 4K to HD conversion and time the system. And then you can add your HDR to SDR conversion and time the system. And that means then you know exactly, as you can see there, to the millisecond or frame, what the propagation delay is across your network. Because remember, as I said, at the end of each of these processes, you get a new RTP timestamp. So this will allow you to compensate and synchronize those when you digimap the truck. And there's the graphic in full screen. So this means now, by playing this out here, we know what the total propagation delay is and what the AV delay will be across the system. If you want to hear more about this and see more, Leader, RN Hall 10, C1. If you want more information on this, can I recommend please visit the Ames Education Library. There is a lot of fantastic information in there. If you'd like to contact me, here are my details. And if you'd like a copy of the presentation, please follow the QR code now, put your name and email address in, and we'll arrange to send you a copy of the presentation. I'd like to thank you for your time. I hope that has educated, informed you, and possibly entertained a little bit along the way as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.